Hi, this is Wojtek again, and today we are recording another video from the series Witnessing to Jehovah Witnesses. And today I would like to focus our video on a false prophecy of end of times in 1975. This is very important that we understand that Jehovah Witnesses claim to be God's prophets. They claim that their governing body has a special channel of communication with God, Jehovah, and because of that they have a special revelation from God and they reveal them to the whole organization, and that's why they are God's prophets. So this is also important to notice that false prophecies are first forbidden by God, and they are very much God warns us before false prophets, and we'll go to what Bible says about false prophets. But before that, I would like to point out that false prophecies, especially prophecies of the end of times, where people wait for those moments, when people have a lot of expectation of coming Christ, the consequences of those false prophecies in the past were very tragic. People sometimes commit suicide, sometimes get psychological problems, and just because, you see, what happened is when they were waiting, expecting the soon coming of end, they were they stopped proceeding in careers, life careers. They stopped going to schools. They stopped having children. They spent all their money, the family savings. They also donated a lot of money to Watchtower. The Watchtower got very wealthy before all those false prophecies, and we know there were several false prophecies of end of times. For example, 1914, 1925, 1954, and today we're going to speak about 1975. Those recent ones, you can go on YouTube and listen to people who went through those times, how harsh it was for their families, for them going through this disappointment of unfulfilled prophecy. But before we go there, I would like to read from actually what we are going to do today. I'm going to read a lot, so get paper and pencil ready, because I will read a lot of publications from Watchtower magazines as well as from Watchtower books. I will read and I will give you the dates and all the titles, so you can actually find them on your own and examine them yourself and show them to Jehovah Witnesses so they can see it, and because a lot of them, they have no clue. What happened is Jehovah Witnesses, they are told that all those prophecies, they were not really prophecies. They actually, they admit sometimes the old prophecies, but they say there was a mistake in calculation and this and that. So that wasn't really prophecy. There was suggestion. There was possibility, but people get too serious about it, get devoted too much to those suggestions, and they actually went overboard and did all those things that they're not supposed to do because they were too committed to those suggestions, which is not true, because the publications we're gonna read are very firmly stating this prediction and suggestion, also the the very giving like a very much the statements that are very suggestive, very definite statements that would tell us about the preparations. Like people do prepare for this end of time, and Watchtower doesn't say, hey, stop, don't do this, don't do that. They just, they're okay with that, which tells us that they were expecting it to happen. So let's start with what Jehovah Witnesses think of themselves in terms of being prophets. Okay, so let's go. Okay, I'm going to use Watchtower magazines, but the one I'm using are not a single copies. They are bound in a whole year of magazines. So there's like all the magazines from 1 year bound in one book. And those are easy to get on eBay. You can search on eBay for single magazines, but they're hard to get, and actually the cost of them would be way higher if you buy them by... I actually bought 30 years for like nothing. I don't remember how much, but for very low money I bought 30 years of books of magazines very inexpensively. And also just be careful, those are also, some of them are reprints. I'm not familiar with reprints. I have originals, but reprints, from what I expect to have some changes sometimes, because they are familiar for changing their, especially in the books that are reprinted, they change a lot of information from before. So be careful, but I'm sure a lot of reprints will be also very helpful if you get them. So let's start with false prophecies of 1975, end of times. Okay, let's go first to a book, to a year 1972, to April 1, 1972, in the article named "A Prophet Was Among Them." And that's what we read. God had a prophet to warn them. This prophet was not one man, but was a body of men and women. It was a small group of footstep followers of Jesus Christ, known at that time as International Bible Students. Today, they are known as Jehovah Christian Witnesses. They are still proclaiming a warning. And this is on a page 197. And we go further and we read, of course, it is easy to say that this group acts as a prophet of God. It is another thing to prove it. The only way that this can be done is to review the record. What does it show? So actually they want us to review record of their prophecies. And we go further and we read, and on a page 200, and we read, and since no word of work of Jehovah can fail, for he is God Almighty, the nations will see the fulfillment of what these witnesses say as directed from heaven. So this is from April 1, 1972, page 197 and 200. So this is what they think of themselves. They are prophets from God, of God. Let's go to Watchtower magazine, May 1st, 1967, and we read on a page 262. There is a paragraph in the article that is named "Where Are We According to God's Timetable?" on a page 262 in a paragraph titled "The End of 6,000 Years," which is the end of 6,000 years of man's existence. And after that they teach that the millennium will come, the 1,000 year of Jesus' kingdom, but in between those two it will be Battle of Armageddon, so ending the 6,000 years and starting the millennium time. So we read, Jesus said that this generation that saw the beginning of this time period in 1914 would also see its end. Generation, and this is actually another false prophecy, because they predicted that Jesus' second coming, his spiritual coming, was in 1874. Then they changed to 1914. But that's beside the point. The point is that now they say that the generation that saw the events of 1914 would also see the end of times. The generation that was old enough to view these events with understanding, so at least 15 years old, in 1914 is no longer young. It no longer has many years to run. Already many of these members have died. But Jesus showed that there would still be members of this generation alive at the time of passing away of this wicked system of things in both heaven and earth. And then we skip a little bit and it says, interestingly, the autumn of fall of the year 1975 marks the end of 6,000 years of human experience. And they try to mellow down. They try to find the way of exit for saying, there were not prophecies, they were just suggestions. But so they try to use this kind of wording, like for example here, will it be the time when God executes the wicked and starts off the 1,000-year reign of his son Jesus Christ? It is very well could be, but we will have to wait to see. Okay, they try to show that they just suggest, but we'll see later that they imply. So this is it. There was May 1st, 1967 on page 262. We go to the magazine from August 15, 1968. And here is the title, a very cool title. Why are you looking forward to 1975? And this is on page 494, August 15, 1968. And we read, what about all this talk concerning the year 1975? Lively discussions, some based on speculation, have burst into flame during recent months among serious students of the Bible. Their interest has been kindled by the belief that 1975 will mark the end of 6,000 years of human history since Adam's creation. And then we go farther in the same article. On page 499, we read this. That man in fall of the year 1975, that means in the fall 1975, a little over 7 years from now. So they imply, let's see, it will be 6,000 years since creation of Adam, that Father of all mankind. And then we read further. Are we to assume from this study that the Battle of Armageddon will be all over by the autumn of 1975 and the long-looked-for 1,000-year reign of Christ will begin by then? And they put the word possibly. But we to see how closely the 7,000-year period of man's experience coincides with the Sabbath-like 1,000-year reign of Christ. And if these two periods run parallel with each other, as to calendar year, it will not be by more chance or accident, but will be according to Jehovah's loving and timely purposes. And now, our chronology, however, which is reasonably accurate, but admittedly not infallible, at the best, only points to the autumn of 1975 as the end of 6,000 years of man's existence on the earth. It does not necessarily mean that 1975 marks the end of the first 1,000 years of Jehovah's seventh creative day. Why not? And now is the explanation. You see, they try to trick us by showing that possibly we have to wait to see. The only thing is, in here they're gonna start to explain that they're not quite sure it will happen in 1975 because everything is depend if Eve was created days after Adam or months after Adam. They say they don't know, so they don't say it will not happen in 70s. It might happen a few months later, or a few months, a few days later, or a little bit later. But so that's why they say possibly and this. But they can have the easy way out if something happened. That's the game. So now they explain about Adam and Eve and all this. So I'm not gonna read all those things, but let's go further. So let's see here on page 500 says, including the fact that Eve was created after Adam, so not until after this event did the sixth creative day came to the end. Exactly how soon after Adam's creation is not disclosed. So they go on that. This time between Adam's creation and time beginning of the seventh day of the day of rest, let it be noted, need not have been long time. It could have been a rather short time. So, it will not be long from the fall of 1975 until the end comes, but they don't know exactly because Jesus said nobody knows the day and the hour. But they say it will be 1975 or very close to that. So, and we go, with this. And now, if we, and the whole article is like 4 pages of those things revealing the prophecy here. Now we have another article in a magazine from May 1st, 1968, and the title is Making Wise Use of the Remaining Time. Okay, and we read here, the autumn of 1975, fully 6,000 years into God's seventh day, his rest day, and it says particularly it is true because the great sign of the last days has been in a course of fulfillment since the beginning of the time of the end in 1914. Some of the generation that discerned the beginning of the time of the end in 1914 will still be alive on earth to witness the end of this present wicked system of things at the Battle of Armageddon. The immediate future is certain to be filled with climatic events for this and all this goes what is going to happen, and then we go, does this mean that the year 1975 will bring the Battle of Armageddon? No one can say with certainty. Okay, but then they go on a page 272. This is all what I just read, but in here, I don't know if you can see, on both pages here, there is a chart of events that happened during those 6,000 years of man existence. And in here, let me read it. In here, it says 1975, 6,000 years, and in the fall of 1975, and after that 7,000 year begins of the reign of Christ. So this is interesting to see in this magazine. So let's go to another one. So that was what was it? There was first was August 15, 1968, and the other one was May 1st, 1968 also. So those magazines that we read till now, they were all kind of like, possible, nobody knows, and this and that, but they kind of point to this very strongly. So now we kind of get very more precise, and let's read from the magazine January 15, 1970. January 15, 1970. And on a page 52, we read, back in 1925, this is another false prophecy, and they admit here, listen to that, they admit that there was a false prophecy, right? So it says this, back in 1925, the Bible timetable as set out in a book, The Time is at Hand, the book titled The Time is at Hand, which is one of those books I have right here, published in the year 1889, was still thought to be correct. So when this publication of this book came up, there was thought that 1925 is a correct date. Hence, it was not calculated that 6,000 years of man's life on earth were yet to end during the 1970s. So they admit there was calculated back then, but that was wrong, because that's why they didn't figure out that 1970s is the time. And we go to same year, we go to May 1st, 1970. On a page 273 in the article titled Ignoring Affecting All Mankind, and we go on a page 273, we read, it is clear that the time left is reduced with only approximately 6 years left until the end of 6,000 years of human history. So, 6,000 years from 1970. That means, 1970 and 1975. So they get to the point here. And we go with another publication from Watchtower from October 15, 1969. In the article that is titled the approaching peace of 1,000 years. On page 622, and we will read also 623, we read this. More recently, earnest researchers of the Holy Bible have made a recheck of its chronology. According to their calculation, the 6th millennium of mankind's life on earth would end in the mid-70s. Thus, the 7th millennium from man's creation by Jehovah God would begin with less than 10 years. So, you know, they say it will happen. It's not saying here may happen, possibly, will happen, right? And then we go a little further. The devil has been on the loose, making the human family to toil in hard bondage. Soon, now, 6 millenniums of his wicked exploiting of mankind as his slave will end within the lifetime of the generation that has witnessed world events since the close of the Gentile time in 1914 till now. So again, they bring up this generation gonna see it. Just remember, if 1914 happened, the events of 1914, generation that, as we read before, was aware of what happened, being at least, I would figure, 10 years old, now would be 112, 117. So obviously it didn't happen. And now we go to this is cool. You see, this is a statement that is just definite. It doesn't say anything, but once we read this, you understand why they cannot say, you know, we just suggested, we just said possibly. No, that's what they say, and that's what they predicted, and everybody were following it. They didn't correct them. Look what it says here in the article of March 15, 1969, article that is titled, "What Influences Decisions in Your Life?" What influences decisions in your life? On page 171, we read, "The influence and spirit of this world is to get ahead, to make a name for oneself. Many schools now have students, counselors who encourage one to pursue higher education after high school, to pursue career with a future in the system of things." And look at this now. "Do not be influenced by them. Do not let them brainwash you with the devil's propaganda to get ahead, to make something of yourself in this world. This world has very little time left." That means don't go to school, don't follow your careers, don't do anything. Stop. And also, there's an I don't have it here, but I don't have it here, but I have it in Awake magazine. In Awake magazine from May 26 from 1969. The Awake magazine, May 26, 1969, in an article titled "Fine Works Fire Publicly Manifested." Very similar statement, very similar statement. So it says, don't let them brainwash you, because this world has very little time left. Any future world offers is no future. Wisely then, let God's word influence you, and, you know, go ahead and witness and do these things. So they cannot say, you know, we just suggested. They say, don't get education, don't follow your career, don't do anything, end is coming. So that's tragic. That's tragic for those who followed. They have blood on their hands, pretty much what it is. Let's go to October 15, 1966. On a page 628 in an article titled "Rejoicing over God's Sons of Liberty, Spiritual Feast." On a page 628 we read, "A new book in English entitled Life Everlasting in Freedom of the Sons of God." This book, okay. Life Everlasting in Freedom of the Sons of God. We'll read that book here. And it here says, "Oh, assembly," that's from one of those assembly they had, the commentator was talking about this book. "All the assembly points where it was released, the book was received enthusiastically. Crowds gathered around stands and soon supplies of the book were depleted. Immediately, its contents were examined. It did not take the brothers very long to find the chart beginning on the page 31, we'll go there, showing that 6,000 years of man's existence end in 1975. Discussion of 1975 overshadowed about everything else. The new book compiles blah blah blah. That the Armageddon is in fact very close indeed, says the conventioner. Armageddon is coming." So that was October 15, 1966. Now let's go to this book here, okay? The Everlasting Freedom, the Life Everlasting in Freedom of the Sons of God. On a page 29, we read this: "According to this trustworthy Bible chronology, 6,000 years from man's creation will end in 1975, and the seventh period of 1,000 years of human history will begin in the fall of 1975. So 6,000 years of man's existence on earth will soon be up, yes, within this generation." And on a page 30 we read, "The Holy Bible speaks of the reign of Jesus Christ over the earth for 1,000 years of millennium reign of Christ. The blessed time for its introduction is fast approaching. Shortly, within our own generation, the symbolical trumpet will be sounded by divine power, proclaiming liberty in the land of all its inhabitants." Okay. "Consequently, there is now every reason why the human creation will yet be set free, not by man, but by Almighty God. The long waiting time for this is at hand." And on a page, 2 pages farther, we have pretty much exactly the same chart like we had in the previous magazines, but it goes on 2 pages. It also shows during those 6,000 years of man's existence, all the events, of course, Jehovah Witnesses, important events. And also it says here 6,000 years, 1975, the 6,000 years, end of this 6,000 year Mexican existence, and starts of the millennium of Jesus Christ reigning. So this is the book. And I would like to read also what Bible says about prophets that are false. In Deuteronomy 18, Deuteronomy 18, verse 20 to 22, we read this. This is the Bible. But the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name that I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, that same prophet shall die. And if you say in your heart, how may we know the word that Lord has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the word does not come to pass or come true, that is the word that the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. You need not be afraid of him. Run from that prophet. So, dear friends, this is pretty much it about the false prophecy of the end of times in 1975. There's many other false prophecies of Watchtower Society. Please, if you know any Jehovah Witness, tell them, get those magazines, show them the video. Tell them the truth about their leaders who claim to be prophets of God, who claim to be having a channel of communication with God. They are liars. They lie. If you watch my other videos, I have a lot of videos, and I'm about false prophecies, about their organization, and I'm preparing to make many more of them to show how false they are, how untruthful they are. Please subscribe to my YouTube account, be a subscriber to my account, and you can find all my videos there, or you can just write on a YouTube search box, write Sharing Faith by Wojtek, and you can find like a playlist of my videos. But if you subscribe, that will be best to find them all. Pray for those poor Jehovah Witnesses. Show them the truth. Tell them the truth. I have a lot of videos you can watch on what to say to them, how to show them what Bible really teaches, not what their organization tell them that the Bible says, because they lie. That this is not true organization of God. This is false. This is Satan's organization. So please pray for them. They need Christ. They need to come to Christ. You might be the vehicle of God that brings them to Him. So be very loving and have a lot of compassion for them. Show them love and show them Christ in love and bring them to Him. So thank you for watching. Subscribe to my account. Thank you.